Hello everyone, welcome to the third episode of Nameless Nepali with your host Nameless. Today I'm going to talk about overconfidence effect and why you systematically overestimate your knowledge and abilities. My favorite musician, John Sebastian Bach, was anything but a one-hit wonder. He composed numerous works. How many there were I will reveal at the end of this chapter, but for now, here's a small assignment. How many concerts do you think Bach composed? Choose a range, for example between 100 and 500, aiming for an estimate that is 98% correct and only 2% off. How much confidence should we have in our knowledge? Psychologists Howard Raifa and Mark Alpert, wondering the same thing, have interviewed hundreds of people in their way. They have asked participants to estimate the total egg population in the US, or the number of physicians and surgeons listed in the yellow pages of the phone directory for Boston, or the number of foreign automobiles imported in the US, or even the tool collection of the Panama Canal in millions of dollars. Subjects could choose any range they liked, with the aim of not being wrong more than 2% of the time. The result was amazing. In the final tally, instead of just 2%, they were 40% of the time. The research dubbed that amazing phenomenon overconfidence. Overconfidence also applies to forecasts such as stock market performance over a year or your firm's profit over 3 years. We systematically overestimate our knowledge and our abilities to predict on a massive scale. The overconfidence effect does not deal with whether single estimates are correct or not. Rather, as Taleb puts it, it measures the difference between what people actually know and how much they think they know. That's surprisingly is this. Experts suffer even more than overconfidence than lay people does. If asked to forecast oil prices in 5 years' time, an economic professor will be as wide of the mark as a zookeeper will. However, the professor will offer his forecast with certitude. Overconfidence does not stop at economics. According to Taleb, 84% of Frenchmen estimate that they are above average lovers. Without the overconfidence effect, that figure should be exactly 50% after all. The statistical median means 50% should rank higher and 50% should rank lower. In another survey, 93% of US students estimated themselves to be above average drivers, and 68% of the faculty at the University of Nebraska rate them in the top 25% for teaching ability. Entrepreneurs and those wishing to marry also deem themselves to be different. They believe they can beat the odds. In fact, entrepreneurial activities would be a lot lower if overconfidence will not exist. For example, every restaurant owners hopes to establish the next Michelin star restaurant, even though statistics shows that most close their doors after just 3 years. The return on investment in the restaurant business lies chronically below zero. Hardly any major projects exist that are completed in less time and at a lower cost than forecasted. Some delays and cost overruns are even legendary, such as the Airbus A400M, the Sydney Opera House, and Boston's Big Dig. The list can be added to at will. Why is that? Here, two effects act in unison. First, you have classic overconfidence. Second, those with a direct interest in the project have an incentive to underestimate the cost, such as consultants, contractors, and suppliers seek follow-up orders. Builders feel blustered by the optimistic figures and Through their activities, politicians get more votes. What makes overconfidence so prevalent and its effect so confounding is that it is not driven by incentives, it is raw and innate, and it's not counterbalanced by opposite effect, underconfidence, which doesn't exist. No surprise to some readers, overconfidence is more pronounced in men. Women tend not to overestimate their knowledge and abilities as much. Even more troubling, optimists are not the only victims of overconfidence. Even self-proclaimed pessimists overrate themselves, just less extremely. In conclusion, be aware that you tend to overestimate your knowledge. Be skeptical of predictions, especially if they come from so-called experts. And with all plans, favor the pessimistic scenario. This way you have a chance of judging the situation somewhat realistically. Okay, back to the questions from the beginning. John Sebastian Bach composed 1127 works that survive to this day. He may have composed considerably more, but they are all lost. Thank you so much for listening this podcast. We'll come again with some new topic. Thank you so much.